Hello, family, friends. I'm back. How's everybody's Easter? Was good. All right. All right. I had a good Easter too. Just great. Great insight from last week. And hate to move on, but gotta move on. So this week, come follow me. The reading is in Matthew 18. I believe it's Luke 10. Today I'll cover a couple of things, mainly in Matthew chapter 18. Uh, Matthew 18, Luke 10. Once again, I'm using some study guides that I love. I love to read these study guides and just other videos, that I can that I find on YouTube. And I would recommend supplemental reading and watching as well. So here we are in Matthew 18. Let's just start here, and we'll just look at a few of these. Chapter 18, verse 1. At the same time, the disciples came unto Jesus, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus called a little child unto him and set him in the midst of them. You know what's great about with this "Come Follow Me" and the format is, there's obviously different interpretations, and we'll actually get into some of those things. But what I love the most about it is just is how the Savior teaches and what you can learn from how the Savior teaches, and also from how the hearers of the Savior in these examples, how they react. So there's really no wrong answer because these things are personal. They're personal to us. Like one of the things when I hear this, the disciples asking, who is the greatest in the kingdom? And, I could be way off base, but I know for me, what does that mean to me? Have you ever felt insignificant? Okay, so we have in the scriptures the noble and great ones, and there's Abraham, of course, Isaac, Jacob. Then you have people like David, who slew Goliath. Have all the prophets, so many great ones who have done so much, for mankind. And then of course, the Savior and the apostles, even Peter and just everyone. If you can think of people like that or people in the church. So when it says to me, when I think of that, and it says, who is the greatest? I don't know. Like before this, I wouldn't know how to answer that, but I could tell you one thing. For me personally, I knew it wasn't me. I knew that I wasn't the greatest in the kingdom. And if anything, I didn't even know where I belonged in the kingdom. I don't know how someone so, like me, so insignificant. I mean, how can I measure up to Abraham? Or how can I do the things that, Moroni did, or those things? How can I be, like that? How can I be a great and how can I be a noble one? What's great is how the Savior answered. And he didn't say, well, you guys all have to do this, or you all have to accomplish this, or you have to do like Moses. No, all he did is he grabbed a child, and he put the child and he said, this, do this, be like a child, be like a child, and that the kingdom of heaven is like a child. It's, granted, there are ones who have different things that they've done. They've accomplished much. But all the Savior has required of me is to be childlike. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that great to know that? And then you have to look into it. It's like, wow, really? So I don't have to conquer this and do this or invent this or do that. I just need to be like a child. And so then you have to say, well, what is a child? I mean, what's he doing? What's crazy is if when you get there, when you get to heaven, and he says, you couldn't even be like a child. I said, you had 6 children. I said, that's true. I mean, I've had my own six examples of children. I've got children all around me, yet I really have no excuse as to say I couldn't humble myself like a child, as if I didn't know what a child was. So, how do we do that? What do we say? You look at a child, and I look at children like, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. They are completely dependent upon you. I mean, your child. They can't buy a house, they can't drive a car, they can't do the things that you can do or provide for them. So they really look to you with those eyes, like, hey, Dad, can I get something to eat? Because if you don't feed him, he's not going to eat, or she's not going to eat. And I know that firsthand because I'm a father. And so that humility of a child to completely be submissive or submit to the parents, and that I need to emulate that with the Savior, that I can do nothing without the Savior. But then we get caught up in that, after all you can do, you got to get out there, you got to hustle, you got to do your deal. But you know and then the Savior will help you, because we can't make it to heaven without grace, right? It's by grace that we are saved after all we can do, right? And that's just like any good parent would say the same thing to his child. You know, you got to do your part. They're not just going to give you a high school diploma. You actually got to go to school, and do your part. And so sometimes, then you get to kind of that deal where, well, I'm young, I'm strong, I can do my own thing, I don't need nobody telling me what to do. And then maybe become a little less submissive. And so even though we at a certain point are able to provide for ourselves, feed ourselves, do these things, buy this, do that, and start doing things for ourselves, that becomes a danger. So that's when we start to lean more to our own understanding, especially with college and school and things that you can learn. And you may exalt yourself because of your so much learning. So once you get to a certain point in age, for me, I'm 50. Well, we'll be this year. Um, that's kind of what happens, isn't it? You kind of you can afford a few more things, you can do a few more things, and you can think for yourself. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. I don't want to spend too long. Dang, it's already been 7 minutes. Okay, that's just on children. See how much time they take? Okay. Well, let's move on here a little bit. We'll do another one. Oh man, this next one. Okay, we'll start in verse 7. Woe unto the world because of offenses. For it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. Okay, to offend someone. And it's right after, the children, so a child spirit. I remember learning, I don't know where I was at. Maybe I had to take an anger management class or something, but I remember they talked about closing a child's spirit. Like when your child is, this and then you're like, hey, don't do that. And then the child just looks at you like, okay. And so you kind of close that child's spirit, or, he kind of like, oh, sorry. Um, that's one thing, but I kind of want to read. This is pretty deep. So listen. Verse 8, wherefore, if thy hand or thy foot offend thee, cut them off and cast them from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life halt or maimed, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into everlasting life. I know you think, oh yeah, cut your hands off and feet. Hold on. Verse 9, and if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life with 1 eye, rather than have 2 eyes to be cast into hellfire. Okay, well, here comes the hard doctrine. What did the prophet Joseph Smith say about this? Wherefore, if thy hand or thy foot, and the hand or thy foot represent friends. and as parents, you know this already. You know what I'm saying? You look at your kids and you're like, the hand or thy foot offend thee, cut them off. You're like, hey, you need to find some new friends, right? Because them friends, they're going to take you straight to jail, okay? The tough one, and so, catch friends or find some new friends, is verse 9. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life with one eye. So, what was the eye? And we're going to end on this, but the eye is a man's eye are they of his own household. So, family. Have you ever had a family member, maybe let's just say a distant relative, that's always like, oh man, you shouldn't, I don't know, God's not real or this and that. And, he's so anti against the church or this and that. You might have to just, love him or her or whoever it is. Could be your parents. I don't know. Whoever it is, whoever needs to hear this. That's the thing on Facebook, I guess. But you have to be careful. You have to be careful because, they can drag you down or they can do this or they can do that. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Verse 10, take heed that you despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. So, key points. Obviously, it must be harder to do than to be childlike than it actually is, because you know it's here. So it's just telling us you don't have to be a great whatever. You just need to be childlike, be submissive. Sorry, it's kind of long. Love you guys. Have a good week. I'll probably post a couple more. So, if your gospel doctrine, stake, independent stake, or, Blue Mills Ward, or any church, caught up with your reading. It's not too much reading this week compared to last week. Just starting chapter 18. If you have any comments, post them. Post them below or keep them to yourself. All right, love you. Take care.